I became the man who saved me. I used to believe I had everything a man could ask for: a wife I loved, a daughter who adored me, and a steady job that, while not glamorous, paid the bills and let us sleep warm at night. My name is Mark. I was 38 when the ground beneath my life cracked open without warning. We lived in a small house just outside the city. A modest place with peeling paint, a leaky faucet, and the creaky wooden stairs that somehow felt like home. I worked as a sales manager in a mid-sized construction firm. It wasn't passion, but it paid well, and I was good at it. I brought in clients, sealed deals, and trained others to do the same. My wife Laura had stopped smiling at me a year before it all fell apart. At first I blamed stress, or maybe I thought we were just coasting, but love doesn't fade quietly, it rots, and one ordinary Thursday morning I found out just how far the rot had spread. She was sitting at the table sipping coffee, her phone in her hand. I walked in, kissed my daughter on the head, and poured myself a cup. That's when the phone buzzed and she flinched. Curiosity is dangerous. I glanced down, a message. Last night was amazing, can't stop thinking about you. And the sender's name wasn't mine. I said nothing right away. I felt the blood drain from my face. Laura noticed for a second. Our eyes met, and in that second she knew I knew. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she said flatly. No tears, no guilt, like confessing to leaving the milk out too long. I left the house that day with a bag and a heart full of questions. That same afternoon I was called into the office. We're downsizing, Mark, we're sorry. And just like that, the second pillar of my life cracked and broke. Marriage gone, job gone. I slept in my car for 2 nights. A grown man, once a provider, reduced to a forgotten figure under the dim orange streetlight outside a gas station. That's when the silence crept in, not just around me, but inside me. Rock bottom is quieter than people think. It's not screaming, not crashing bottles, or shouting at the sky. It's the stillness when everyone else has somewhere to go and someone to love, and you don't. I didn't tell anyone what happened. My brother called the first night, probably out of routine. I let it ring. What would I say? That I was living off vending machine sandwiches and pretending the back seat of a 2007 sedan was a bedroom. Money runs out fast when you don't have any coming in. I had maybe $300 in my checking account. I tried to get a cheap motel, but even that felt like lighting money on fire, so I stayed in the car and lied to myself. Tomorrow I'll figure it out. I applied for jobs online, at the library during the day, construction, delivery, driving, warehouse work. Anything. I showered at a community center. On the 3rd night, someone broke the window of my car while I was sleeping in it. They didn't even take anything, just smashed it and ran. That was the moment I truly snapped. Not loud, not messy, just a click in my chest. Something cold slid in where warmth used to live. It told me, no one is coming. You either climb out or this is where you rot. I took the last of my money and bought 2 things: a new suit from a thrift store and a prepaid phone. I went downtown the next morning and started walking into buildings, not emailing, not calling, walking and smiling and asking if they needed help, any help. Most said no, but one guy, as some older man with thick glasses and mustard on his tie, looked me up and down and said, "We could use a guy to clean the warehouse." I said, "I'll do it." I started that afternoon, $10 an hour, 16-hour shifts when I could grab them. It wasn't glorious. I was sweeping up dust, moving boxes, taking verbal abuse from people who thought I was invisible. But I wasn't invisible, not to myself. Every day I stared at the mirror in the bathroom and reminded myself, this isn't where I stop. I said that line to myself so often it became a kind of prayer. The man I was, the one who got cheated on, discarded, fired, he wasn't gone, he was evolving. The warehouse saved me and humiliated me at the same time. I'd once closed multi-million-dollar contracts in glass buildings with city views. Now I was mopping oil spills off concrete and being told to hurry the hell up by a 22-year-old foreman who thought I was stupid because I didn't say much. But what they didn't see was this: every second I wasn't working, I was learning. I noticed how inventory moved, how pallets were packed, how vendors were billed. I started watching YouTube videos at night in the corner of a rundown hostel. Business models, logistics, startup case studies. The grind didn't stop, it couldn't stop. One night a driver came in frustrated that a batch of packaging tape had split during delivery. I helped him fix it, no big deal, but then he said something that stuck with me. You'd think with how much we pay for supplies they'd at least work. That was the spark. I went home that night and Googled wholesale packaging suppliers, boxes, tape, bubble wrap, pallet wrap. The prices were wild. Different across cities, and most businesses overpaid because they didn't have time to look around. I asked myself a question that changed everything. What if I became the one who found the deals for them? I spent my next paycheck not on comfort, but on an LLC, a cheap laptop, and a domain name. I called it Ironpack Solutions. It didn't mean anything at the time, it just sounded strong. During the day I scrubbed floors. At night I taught myself the language of margins, freight rates, and supplier contracts. I cold emailed hundreds of small businesses in the area offering to beat their current packaging supply costs. Most ignored me, some told me to screw off, but one small e-commerce company selling handmade candles replied they needed 300 boxes a month and hated their current vendor. I beat the price by 8%, not a huge cut, but it was enough. I didn't even have inventory yet. I used their payment to buy the boxes wholesale, shipped them directly, and pocketed the difference, a whole $120. But it was mine. That's when I realized this was a real path. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was building. Every client I signed gave me leverage to negotiate better bulk rates. Better rates meant better margins meant growth. Within 6 months I was working part-time at the warehouse and full-time on IronPack. I signed 10 local businesses. I created an online portal. I even got help from a kid I met at the hostel. He knew coding, and I paid him with pizza and future promises. The day I quit the warehouse job, I didn't tell anyone. I just walked out on a Friday and never went back. It felt like shedding skin. The man who had begged for work was gone. The one taking shape now was dangerous, hungry, focused. I wasn't rich yet, but I had something better: momentum. Momentum is messy. For every step forward, I stumbled twice. I didn't know how to manage invoices. My first tax season nearly killed me. One supplier ghosted me after taking a $3,000 order, and I had to pay a replacement vendor out of my own savings to keep my client. But I didn't stop. I learned fast. I kept every receipt. I hired a freelance accountant to help me organize. I read every logistics and supply chain blog I could find. My free time disappeared, and so did my doubts. Eventually, IronPack moved out of my head and into a rented office. Bare walls, one desk, and a flickering fluorescent light. It was the ugliest room I'd ever loved. It smelled like dust and glue, but it was mine. I built a system, found suppliers across 3 states, hired a local kid to help with packing and delivery. Then I got bold. I approached a mid-sized furniture distributor and asked to handle all their protective packaging. They laughed at first. I was still the little guy, but I underbid the competition by 11%. Then I guaranteed 2-day delivery. They took the risk. That one contract tripled my revenue in a month. It was happening slowly, then all at once IronPack became real. I had a name in the local B2B space. My emails got replies. My phone rang with opportunity. And one night, almost exactly a year after I had slept in my car, I hit $100,000 in profit. People think the first million is the hardest. It's not. The hardest thing is believing you deserve it, especially after life's kicked your teeth in. But I had numbers now. I had proof. I scaled faster. I opened a second office, built partnerships across state lines, got approached by a logistics firm looking to merge. I didn't say yes, not yet. Instead, I focused on systems automation. I invested in a software tool that could handle live inventory syncing, shipping labels, and CRM. I hired 2 remote assistants. I stopped packing boxes and started reading contracts. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was strategizing. 6 months later, I closed a 6-figure deal with a regional manufacturing chain. IronPack became their exclusive provider for protective shipping material across 5 warehouses. It took 15 meetings, 1 emergency red-eye flight, and me pitching in a wrinkled suit, but it worked. That contract alone tipped my net worth past $750,000, and 3 months later, with the merger I had turned down initially, now back on the table, only with a higher offer, I accepted a partial acquisition deal. My bank account crossed 7 figures the following week. There were no fireworks, no champagne. I just stood in that same office, the one with the peeling paint and bad lighting, and stared at the wire transfer confirmation. I smiled quietly. It felt earned. And then she called. I hadn't heard Laura's voice in 2 years. Then on a cloudy Tuesday, my phone lit up with her name. I stared at it for a long time before answering. There was a pause, then her voice, soft, almost like before. "Mark, I heard about everything. I'm happy for you." I waited. "I've been thinking," she continued. "I miss what we had. I know I made mistakes. Maybe we could talk." The words rolled out like a practiced apology, measured, soft, strategic. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask why. I didn't remind her of the nights I spent in silence while she laughed with another man. I simply said, "You already made your choice. I just made mine." She said nothing back. Then the line went dead. I put my phone down, turned to the window, and watched the city breathe. I didn't feel bitterness, only peace. The man she left behind, he didn't exist anymore.